You know, it was a few years ago over at that Pete's over on Lakeshore, here on Ohlone land. A woman greeted me, "Good morning, black person. How is it being black in America today?" I answered, She added, "And it's harder for us because we're light-skinned." Harder for us because we're light-skinned? I think you mean easier, I tried to correct, but alas, she meant what she said. She's wrong. Of course, just as she was wrong presuming I would agree with her just because we look similarly. Also, am I black? Race is not biological, so the answer depends entirely upon you. When I was born, I'm told I had blue eyes, and as I was also pale and bald, it may be easy to understand how I ended up as white on my birth certificate. My sister, who by all accounts looked Asian when she was born, is black on her birth certificate. Same parents. My parents are, of course, part of that puzzle. My mother, who identifies as African American, and because of her dark complexion, will rarely be seen as anything other than black in this country. And my father, who is, for similar reasons, without question, white. Also pivotal is the one-drop rule, as prior to 1989, a child with only one white parent was designated as, at birth as the race of the non-white parent, and if neither parent was white, then the father. So I have questions. But I am not only white on a certificate of birth. I was designated as white when admitted to a hospital in the Bahamas. A blind coworker believed I was not only white, but blonde. And you might imagine that I'm often perceived as white on the phone. My parents are also white on the phone. And I remember as a kid, I remember people who were black on the phone calling my mother to ask if she'd call 911 on their behalf because her whiteness would garner a faster response. Race is not biological, but it does have real meaning. A director I used to work with for voiceovers for commercials and the like, he contacted my agent once in search of black talent for an African-American mom character. My mom's African-American, so I know the role. But he specifically excluded me. He wrote, "I know Kathleen is black, but she sounds whiter than Barbara Bush." I don't look whiter than Barbara Bush. That didn't stop a racist named Arthur from fighting really hard to keep me white. You know, sometimes racists want you on their team. Then he saw a family portrait. He said, "Oh my God, your mother's black." I gasped, "She is." He clarified, "I thought you were a dark Spaniard. Wait until I tell my friends I've been crushing on a black girl." After a talk I gave in 2015 to the State Bar of California, an attendee who I guess wasn't sold by my discussion of the racialized misogyny I'd experienced, he corrected, "You have a white parent, don't you?" Indeed, some see me as they might argue I actually am, mixed, biracial. But most of the time in these United States, I am black. And usually when I'm speaking of human and civil rights or arguing that black lives should matter as much as any other, I become, as Kamau Bell might joke, not just black, but black. But it is not a permanent state. Because I'm good at math, a student once asked me if I'm Chinese. Of a photograph of me under cherry blossoms in Kyoto, my own mother asked, "Who's that?" thinking she was looking at a Japanese national. When my sister and I traveled to the South Pacific, we were asked whether we were long-lost Niueans or Tahitians. Where race, ethnicity, and nationality blend, so too do I. Are you South African, Nigerian, Egyptian, Puerto Rican, Guatemalan, Venezuelan, Colombian, Costa Rican, Salvadoreña, Mexicana, Chicana, Latinx, Native American? In Europe, I'm most often seen just as racist Arthur saw me, Spanish. Helps that I speak some Spanish. When my sister and I moved to Honolulu as kids, with our light brown skin and dark wavy hair, we were believed to be native Hawaiian. I cannot speak for my sister who turned blonde as she tanned, but as I darkened, so too did my race change. First stop, Samoan. Last stop, black. Hawaii was the first place I was ever called nigger. Race is not biological. It has real meaning. My husband knows something of the experience. In Southern California, he's vilified for being Latino. When I met him, I thought he was Japa, half Asian, half white. In the Bay Area, most of the time people just think he's white, but we don't call him white. Nevertheless, his whiteness has its privileges. A few years ago, I go to the doctor with a bad cough. I'm prescribed cough medicine. Well, not really prescribed. I'm told, go get some cough medicine. A month after that, I'm still coughing. I go back to the doctor. I'm prescribed cough medicine with codeine. A month after that, I am still really sick. I go to a new doctor. She listens to the rails in my lungs and thinks I might have pneumonia. You should have been treated a long time ago, she says. Yeah. Turns out I have asthmatic bronchitis. She prescribes antibiotics, and after just a few days, I'm almost 100%. My white husband goes to the doctor a month after that. Annual exam, same medical group. The conversation with his doctor turns to international travel. When she finds out he's out of the country quite often, she says, oh, well, let me know the next time you're going abroad, and I'll write you a prescription for antibiotics to take with you just in case. So my white husband isn't even sick. But he might get sick someday. Oh my God, perish the thought. So he is given the same prescription I needed for 3 months, but did not get. Race is not biological. It has real meaning. John Oliver said about bias in medicine, we are literally disbelieving black women to death. African Americans are in fact 3 times more likely to die from asthma-related causes than their white counterparts. Just one horrific statistic in a much too long list. Luckily, the delay in treatment didn't cost me my life. Oh, but it did cost my pocketbook. My husband paid $0, preventative health. I paid, in copays just to see the doctor, $90, because I had to go in 3 times. It would have helped if I had been seen sooner. Dr. Jennifer Eberhardt says, seeing is a skill that we, for obvious reasons, rely on heavily, trust deeply, and scarcely recognize as a skill at all. Her research reminds us that race changes because everything we see is inherently ambiguous. So it gets resolved in ways that are most functional and meaningful to us. When someone like me comes along, that skill is put to the test, not only by my appearance, but by what language I'm speaking, who I'm with, even the accent I'm using. Trust me when I say that like this, yeah, people can still believe that I'm black, but I become a more intelligent, less threatening black. But because my demographics change so often, I have developed a superpower. I get to live as so many of us. It even impacts my dreams. I've dreamt I was Akira Kurosawa, a killer whale, even a tree, and more. I dreamt once I was a racist, misogynist white man. It wasn't the first time I dreamt I was a white male, but the first time I was racist and misogynist. Light, racist and misogynist light. I don't want you to get the wrong idea about me. What idea do you have about me, by the way? And how does that compare to how you saw me when I first stepped upon this stage? Had you assessed my race, my sex, my disability status, and decided I was like you? Good morning, black person. Or concluded that I was some other? Ramada Maharshi would tell you, by the way, there are no others. I'm not asking that you think we're all the same. Of course, we are different. We have different experiences, different minds, different bodies, different dreams. But as John Powell notes, the opposite of othering is not saming, it's belonging. We all belong. We all belong. Sawubona.